Takes forever sometimes. I don't know why.
So me and my boss do predictions every week. I think I've told you that.
Yeah.
He finally beat me. I had a rough week. I went 6-7-1.
Yeah.
He finally beat me. So it is live.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
So he finally beat you.
We are.
And having trouble connecting. Please check your internet connection. That's not true.
Yeah. Okay, now it says live. Now it's telling me that we're live too.
So you guys predicted what was your record for this week? This week,
so mine was 6-7-1.
Yeah,
because of the tie. His was 7-6-1. The only game we disagreed on was Browns versus Patriots, and I picked the Browns, and then the Patriots ended up slaughtering the Patriots slaughtering the Browns.
That was one of those games where it's like, what the fuck? There's a couple of those games, and we're live right now. We got a couple people in the room right now. We got Is it BT Whit Mason or is it BTW It Mason?
I think I think he's trying to say, by the way, it's Mason.
And by the way, it's Mason.
By the way,
he said his 49ers won yesterday, so he's happy.
I was happy to see the 49ers win.
Me too. And then Renato Alarcon said, "What's up, guys? We're just getting started here, but we are here. We weren't here last week. Both of us were under the weather. It was a tough week anyway. Carla Jenkins, how you doing? But we're back for week 10. It was a weird week. Some blowouts that people didn't expect. Some upsets. Some teams got back in the winning ways. And like I said in the description, and we, of course, had a tie, which was like, Detroit can't get anything going, but their first non-win is a tie. So, But before we get into everything, first of all, we want to say thank you guys for watching. Do us a favor while you're watching. Remember to hit the like button for the video. Also, remember to hit the subscribe button on my page as well as Mykel Sports. And Mike, you can let them know where you could find you in other places.
Yeah, guys, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Mykel Sports. I've actually started something different on my YouTube. What I have done is sports news at the end of the week. So every Sunday, I would be doing the biggest news throughout the entire week. But now I've started breaking down any and everything that happens that I see. I'm doing it every single day. So I stream literally every single day. It has been at 5 o'clock. I streamed at 5 o'clock yesterday and today. Tomorrow might be a little bit earlier, or I might not stream at all tomorrow because I do have plans. But look for videos for me to stream literally every single day, breaking down sports news. You can call in. I have my cell phone number at the bottom of the screen so that if you want to call and voice your opinion, if you want to, ask a question. I had someone call today. They said, is there something wrong with the Rams defense? And I kind of got to chat it up with them for a little bit. And they asked, is Odell Beckham having second thoughts? And I got to chat it up with them for a little bit on that too. So you can always do that if you want your voice heard on the live stream. At the very least, I do 15 minutes. At the very most, it'll be 30 minutes. But 20 minutes is probably like the target. And then I do NFL predictions every Thursday. And I do player interviews sometimes with some of my friends who are JUCO athletes and stuff like that. So lots of content from me. Make sure to subscribe to Mykel Sports.
Absolutely. That's awesome that you're doing live stream every day. I'm glad to hear that.
And then all my social medias are just Mykel Sports. If you just search Mykel Sports, you'll be able to find me.
Absolutely. You can find me on Instagram at Big Tuna, or on Instagram it's at Bigger and Brighter Sports, and on Twitter it's at Big Tuna BBS. Nothing too crazy there. On my stuff, I just share pretty much football news. I try to expand, but sometimes it just gets to be I'm working. I'm working. But it was a crazy week in the NFL, and we're going to start with one of the craziest games here. Was that the Buccaneers travel to Washington and lose to the Washington football team 29-19. One of the biggest things that came out of it was that last drive in the fourth quarter when Heineke and the the football team were able to seal that W. But we got for stats wise, we got on the Tampa Bay side, Tom Brady, not one of his best games, 220 through 2 picks, as well as 2 touchdowns. Fournette had 47 yards rushing, 45 yards receiving. Mike Evans had 62 yards and a touchdown, and Cameron Brate had 1 catch for 6 yards and a touchdown. On the defensive side, White had 2 sacks. Nelson and Sue and Tyron Shanuka also had sacks, and there was no interceptions thrown. On the Washington side, Tyler Heineke threw for 256 and a touchdown, also ran for 15 yards. Gibson caught or rushed for 64 yards and 2 touchdowns, 14 yards receiving. Carter had 56 yards and a touchdown. McLaurin had 59 yards. And on the defensive side, sad news, Chase Young is out for the year, unfortunately. And they did not have any sacks, but Jackson and McCain both had interceptions. So sad to see that Chase Young is going to be out. But yeah, overall, Washington beats Tampa.
Yeah, this was a really interesting game because Taylor Heineke actually decided to show up. I haven't thought that this guy's really a good quarterback, a future franchise quarterback at all, but he decided to play a little bit this game. And Tom Brady, the GOAT, he just didn't decide to show up this game. And the thing about Tom Brady, and I'm starting to notice this watching every single game, every single week, his interceptions aren't just interceptions. It's not that he's trying to, thread the needle or he's, making these terrible decisions. These are throws into double coverage that just don't make much sense to me. And I don't think that before anyone says anything, I don't think that he's slumping. I don't think that he's on the downfall. But I just think it's weird to see him, the smartest quarterback to ever play, throwing these crazy, weird, just dumb interceptions. I was kind of excited to see Washington's defense show up and play. We haven't seen that since last year when everyone thought they were going to have the best defense in the league. But in all honesty, you can't overreact too much in this game whenever we talk about the Buccaneers, because I think this is just one of those fluke losses where a contender just got beat by a team they shouldn't have gotten beat to. It's happened before. The Cowboys lost to the Broncos last week in a blowout. The Packers got blown out by the Saints. The Cardinals got blown out this week. It just happens. It just happened to happen to the Buccaneers this week. I wouldn't read too much into it. Just a rough game. It happens.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's Tom Brady losing to a bad team, quote unquote, a bad team. Washington is not a terrible team. They've been competitive in most of their games, but yeah, it was just an off game for Tampa Bay, and for Washington to get this W, good for them. It comes at a little bit of a price with Chase Young being out, but I still think even if this year they come out with a decent record, I think that no matter what, Washington is going to be looking for a different quarterback.
I agree.
Here, well, we don't know who, but
think about it like this: if they see somebody in the draft that they like, they might draft a quarterback. Or think about what's going down in Carolina right now. If Cam Newton dominates and they want to bring him back, then Sam Darnold can go to the Washington football team. If they don't like what they see with Cam Newton and they don't want to re-sign him and they keep Darnold, then Cam Newton can go to the Washington football team. I think of something like that. But yeah.
Yeah. And we got a couple people. Let's see here. Jumpman23 says, Big Tuna, what's up? Watching from Los Angeles. We appreciate that. Worried that the team is going to fall apart. Like the past 2 years, this Bengals team is pretty good. Yeah, they are. And we'll get into that in a little bit with with the Raiders and stuff like that. Carla Jenkins says, Big Tuna, we got trouble right there in the Lions Stadium. Yeah, we do. Unfortunately, the Raiders aren't looking great at Lions Stadium. And then Carla Jenkins adds, with Roger Staubach suggested it was a better idea to throw it up to the guy in the third row than late over the middle in the double coverage. Yeah, that's where Roger Staubach's a Hall of Famer right there. So, but like I said, we'll talk about the Raiders about halfway through the show. Next game we got here, a tough game because of the late news of Ben Roethlisberger being out. the Lions and the Steelers tie at 16. So the poor Lions can't get a win. They get a tie before they get a win. But it is what it is. The Steelers are now 5-3-1. The Lions are 8-1. Stats wise, Jared Goff just didn't look right in this game. He had 114 yards passing, was sacked 4 times. We had DeAndre Swift running it 33 times for 130 yards. Also had 3 catches for 5 yards. Igwebuki had a rushing touchdown. Jefferson had a rushing touchdown, and they had 5 carries combined. So each guy had, one guy ran the ball twice for 56 yards. That would be Igwebue there, and Jefferson ran the ball 3 times and had a touchdown. St. Brown had 61 yards receiving. On the defensive side, you had 0 sacks there. Aquara had an interception, and that's about it. I don't know if there was no sacks in that one. On the Pittsburgh side, Mason Rudolph threw for 242, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Najee Harris continues to impress, 105 yards rushing, 28 yards receiving. On the receiving side, Johnson had 83 yards receiving. McLeod had 63. Washington had 15 yards and a touchdown. On the defensive side, Edmonds, Hayward, and Watt all had sacks. Hayward had 2. I'm not 100% sure, but I think Watt was a little banged up as well.
Yeah, he ended up getting hurt late in that game.
After this game as well. But yeah, I don't know what to say about this game. Unfortunately, ended in a tie. It seemed like no one wanted to win the game, so but it should have been a Steelers win if Ben Roethlisberger was playing, but nonetheless, it's a tie, and that kind of does screw up Pittsburgh a little bit.
Yeah,
when it comes down to the playoff stuff.
Well, overall, I think this was a really interesting game because not only did the Detroit Lions keep up in this game, they actually looked good. Like I was watching that game and I was like, the Steelers aren't really losing this game. The Lions are actually doing their part to make this a good football game. Like you said, they just didn't run the ball enough, and they ran the ball good. Both of the guys that got carries actually had good runs in this game. They just didn't do it enough. But overall, Jared Goff needs to be better. Like you said, he just seemed a little bit off. He didn't have a great game. He needs to be better. I have faith in Jared Goff. He's not really handed a great team right now, so it's going to be hard for him to get wins, but he does need to play a little bit better. Overall, Pittsburgh didn't look bad in this game, and Mason Rudolph really didn't look terrible. I mean, he didn't look gouge your eyes out terrible. He wasn't bad. The Lions just showed up ready to play. This was a great game until overtime. Overtime was fun, but it was definitely a little bit more sloppy, weird, like bad football, but it was still exciting to watch. Overall, pretty good game.
Yeah, no, the overtime was a little bit sloppy in my opinion.
Yeah.
It was just both running backs, both running backs played really well, both defenses played really well. And I was going to mention Todd Clements is in the chat saying, "What's up, y'all?" And he just said something I wanted to say. The Lions coach makes me want to root for them. And
right, and I'm a Packers fan. I'm supposed to hate the Lions.
He wants to win so bad for that team. And, I just think was, that the overtime was like, it was just turnovers. No one could kick a field goal.
But it was fun. I mean, it was bad, but it was fun.
It was fun to watch. Yeah, it was fun to watch. But
I do agree. That's going to mess with Pittsburgh's playoff chances.
Yeah, and like I said, I want to see the Lions win because I want to see Dan Campbell get a W and finally – because I got a feeling when he gets that first W as a real head coach and not an interim head coach, it's going to be pretty special to see that celebration. Nate S. says, "Cheers. Hope you guys are doing well. Sorry about the Raiders. The Chiefs clearly slept with the officials. Probably bribe Carr." I might be wrong about both. Yeah, I don't know about that. Next game we got a little bit of a game. It was tough to predict because with injuries and everything, but the Saints travel to Tennessee and lose by 2, 23-21. The Saints tried to come back in the fourth quarter, but just couldn't get it done. Trevor Siemian threw for almost 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, which is not bad. He was sacked 4 times, though. Mark Ingram ran the ball 47 yards with a touchdown, but also had 60 yards receiving. Let's see here. Let's see what we got here. And then on the receiving side, Harris had 84 yards receiving. Smith had 44 yards and a touchdown. Callaway had 37 yards and a touchdown. On the defensive side, Davenport had 2 sacks, and there was no interceptions. On the Tennessee side, Ryan Tannehill threw the ball for 213 yards and a touchdown. On the rushing side, Foreman had 30 yards rushing. Peterson had 21. On the receiving side, Johnson had 100 yards receiving. A.J. Brown only had 1 catch for 16 yards, and Pruitt had 1 catch for 2 yards and a touchdown. On the defensive side, Landry had a sack. Simmons had 2 sacks. Jones had a sack, and there was no interceptions. So not a great game. Overall, it was a lot of running the ball and on the Saints side of it, but it was just, both offenses really didn't get going, even though 20 points were scored on each side. I just really didn't see much,
Well, and speaking of offenses, the one thing that we've noticed about Derrick Henry being out is that the Titans' approach is way, way different. You're seeing Ryan Tannehill drop back and pass a lot more. It's just different without the King in the backfield. But Tannehill is stepping up for Tennessee, making things happen, leading them to back-to-back wins without Derrick Henry. And like you said, Trevor Siemian played a really good game too in the comeback effort. It just wasn't enough. The one thing that we learned about both of these teams in this game is that the Titans are going to find a way to do it without Derrick Henry. It might not lead to a bunch of pretty wins, but they're going to find a way to do it without Derrick Henry. And the most important thing we learned this game is that the New Orleans Saints are going to fight every single Sunday, even without a starting quarterback. Because let's be honest, Trevor Siemian did really good, but this guy is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. They're going to fight, and they're going to make it happen, and they're going to keep games close. I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints made the playoffs, even with Siemian at quarterback. Then again, like I said, I still don't think that he's a starter in the league, but they're going to fight.
Well, I mean, he started for the Broncos. I mean, they weren't great, but he was still able to, to get some success there. The big thing was Mark Ingram passed Deuce McAllister to become the Saints franchise leader in rushing yards, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was
he deserved that one, in my opinion. But the Titans pulling some stuff out of the hat, doing some trickeration here and there. But one thing that they have shown is that their defense is not bad.
Right.
It was that Derrick Henry kind of overshadowed everything.
Yeah.
But now
we've been saying that defense is good.
But it's been mostly about Henry.
Right. 100%.
Guys like Landry developing because he's a younger player, and that secondary doing a decent job against the receivers. Listen, this team is going to be a meat and potatoes type team. They're not going to flash, even though they have 2 decent receivers. Like, in my opinion, one of the better ones in A.J. Brown.
Great.
But, overall, if you're a Titans fan, you're going to get these games. They're going to be tough to watch, but they're going to end up winning them. They're going to win more than they're not, but they're going to be every game's going to be close.
Right.
Unfortunately, without Derrick Henry in there. But we'll see what happens going forward with them. And with the Saints, like I said, Simeon's not that bad, but I just don't know with the Saints. I really don't. With Kamara not being there, with Winston not being there, it's going to be a tough season for them to be successful.
Right.
Speaking of successful, the Cowboys make up for their blunder of a game and beat the Falcons. I was very surprised by this score, beating the Falcons 43-3, because the Falcons usually play most teams pretty tough.
And they can put some points up too most of the time.
Yeah. So that defense, that offense, really, really stepped up to to make sure that the world knew that was a fluke against Denver. Matt Ryan had a bad game, 117 yards, 2 interceptions, and Josh Rosen Josh Rosen played in this game.
Got a little bit of playing time, yeah.
But he was 1 for 6 with 14 yards and an interception. So he really didn't show us much there. Gallman had 55 yards rushing. Patterson really didn't do much. And then Kyle Pitts had 60 yards rushing or 60 yards receiving. On the defensive side, no sacks, no picks. I'm guessing there's going to be a lot more to talk about on the Dallas side. Prescott had 296, 2 touchdowns. Passing, 1 touchdown rushing. Pollard had 42 yards rushing. Zeke had 41 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb caught 94 yards for 2 touchdowns. Cooper had 51 yards receiving. On the defensive side, you had sacks from Parsons and Armstrong, interceptions from Lewis, Brown, and, of course, Diggs.
Right.
So, yeah, big blowout here.
Yeah, this one was a huge blowout. Not really much to say other than the Cowboys were on from the jump. CD and this entire offense was dominating. I think that CeeDee Lamb is a star, at least a star in the making. Oh, my gosh. Him and everyone else that plays, a skill position for the Cowboys, they're doing really good this season. Atlanta, they were simply outmatched in this game. Like you said, Dallas dominated, proved it last week was a fluke, and they got a big win.
Yeah, no, it's the team. You want to see how teams react after losing a game that they shouldn't have lost, and Dallas didn't just lose; they got the piss kicked out of them. And,
right.
I think that this is exactly what you wanted to see from them, both defensively and offensively. So, you can't be upset with the way that this game turned out. But, I've got a lot of Cowboys fans in my family, and I was talking to them, and I was like, I think Dallas is going to have a little bit of trouble with Philly in the halftime, and then they'll pull away. I did not see this coming whatsoever.
Right.
Did not see this coming whatsoever. Speaking of not seeing something coming whatsoever, the Patriots knocked the piss out of the Browns. Patriots win 45-7. It was at home, but still, they beat the Browns 45-7. Obviously, there was injuries with Baker Mayfield, but still, Case Keenum threw for 81 yards. Baker Mayfield threw for 71 yards, a touchdown and interception. Johnson there ran for 99 yards and caught for 58. Landry had 4 catches for 26 yards, and Hooper had 25 yards and a receiving touchdown. On the defensive side, surprise, surprise, Myles Garrett gets another sack, and McDowell had a sack as well. On the New England side, Mac Jones threw for 198 and 3 touchdowns. Brian Hoyer threw for 85 yards and a touchdown as well. Stevenson had 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Bourne had 43 yards rushing. He also had 98 yards receiving and a touchdown. Myers also, listen to this. Jacoby Myers, this was his first ever.
I know.
Out of 135, and that's for 2 years. This is his second year, I believe. Second or third.
I think it's his third. It's his third
year. Well, last year, Cam Newton loved him at the end of the season. I just cannot believe that he never scored a touchdown.
I know. I couldn't believe that either. I thought that was crazy.
But he ends up scoring 1, and Hunter Henry ends up scoring 2, and their big-time free agent signing, Nelson Aguilar, had 2 catches for 21 yards. That's just me being a Raider guy that just shitting on him a little bit. On the defensive side, Van Noy had a sack. Hightower had half a sack. Wise had a sack and a half. Guy had half a sack. Bauer had a sack as well. And Duggar had an interception. So, yeah, big blowout here. It was kind of like it was the Browns of 2010 versus the Patriots of 2010, but it's kind of the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of disappointed in this game. I actually thought that the Browns were going to win, and I at least expected them to keep it close, and they actually looked good from the start. I mean, they had a really good first drive. Baker took them down the field. They scored a touchdown, and then shit really just hit the fan from there. The second drive, I think the second throw of the second drive, Baker Mayfield throws what almost was a pick six, and from that point on, the Browns were dead. I mean, and I've seen that happen. I mean, playing football growing up, that's happened to us before, where we start the game off, we do good, one pick six ruins the entire game. And then you're just stuck in the mud for the rest of the 60 minutes. Mac Jones looked really, really good. And, like I've said, like twice in this video now, I think these flukes happen to contenders. And I think that the Browns, they're not contenders, but they're not really pretenders either. I think they're somewhere in the middle. Like, I definitely think that they can make the playoffs, but I don't think that they're a Super Bowl team. This game might have been a fluke. The only difference is the Patriots are a really good team, and I think that we learned that this week. Not only did the Browns get blown out in this game, but the Patriots looked really good, and they got a huge win. So, hey, I think that both of these teams, and this is an important game because I think both of these teams will be battling for a wild card spot. So,
yeah, no, and the other thing too is that you got a team that needs a little bit of a statement in the Browns with the whole Odell Beckham thing, and they kind of lay flat. And then you got a team like the Patriots who are only one game out of the division. That's it. They're only one game out of the division, and they need this win to go forward. And you look at Mac Jones now with the weapons he has around him. He has the potential to be successful the next 2 or 3 years. Because he's got Harris, he's got Bolden, he's got Stevenson running the ball, he's got Bourne, he's got Harry, he's got Aguilar, he's got Hunter Henry, he's got Jonnu Smith, and he has Jacoby Myers. That's a pretty nice offense for a guy to have. I wanted to go back to what Todd Clements here said. Mac Jones, best QB of the draft. Right now, yeah. I mean, he's right. He's the best QB in the draft, which I think for the first time in a long time, we might not have a QB rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year. I think that Jamar Chase, has a chance to win it. And, I just think that right now, none of the quarterbacks have done enough to win it.
Josh Jacobs won rookie of the year like 3 years ago.
No, Kyler Murray did. He beat him out.
Are you sure? I thought Josh.
Oh, absolutely no, because we were all pissed.
Yeah, I remember that. Everybody was mad.
Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah.
So overall, but like I said, I think that the quarterbacks right now, if I had to rank them, I would go. I mean, Mac, Fields, Lawrence
Wilson, and then
Lance, because he's not playing.
Well, and then someone else did play. Who was it that got some playing time? Oh, Davis Mills. You could put him above Trey Lance.
Yeah, you can put him above Trey Lance, I guess. Yeah,
for the moment, because he's at least touched the field a few times.
Yeah,
they started like once.
Yeah, I think they won.
Yeah, he had one start.
Yeah, but it's still early in the season. But right now, I think Mac Jones is the best quarterback right now for sure. Rookie quarterback for sure. Next game we got. Speaking of Zach Wilson, he didn't play in this game, but the Bills traveled to New York or New Jersey and laid the smackdown on the Jets, 45-17. The Jets they're just having a tough go of it, but Mike White there at 251 yards passing with 4 interceptions. Woohoo! Joe Flacco was 3 for 3 with a touchdown. Good for him. Carter had a rushing touchdown. Corey Davis had 93 yards receiving. Elijah Moore had 44 yards and a touchdown. On the defensive side, Wilson had a sack. Lawson had half a sack. And then Niesman had an interception. On the Bills side, Josh Allen threw for 366, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Singletary had 43 yards and a touchdown. Breda had 28 yards and a touchdown. And Moss had a rushing touchdown as well. So did McKenzie. There was 4 rushing touchdowns in the game. Stephon Diggs had 162 yards and a touchdown. Davis had 105 yards receiving, and Breda also had a receiving touchdown. So good for him. Nice little game there for him. Um, Obata had a sack, and then Johnson, White, Wallace, and Poyer all had interceptions. So once again, another game where there's not much to say except for another blowout, unfortunately. But
Well, the one thing that I am going to say is Mike White's magic is gone. I mean, like he had that great one game, had a little bit of confidence. He said, I should have been the number 1 overall pick. And it's like, what are you going to do? I mean, you can't be mad at him for saying that because you want a guy that's confident.
We'll take it easy, Todd. He's leaving. We'll see you later, Todd. Thanks for checking us out.
But you can't be too mad at him for the confidence. But I mean, 4 picks after having a great game the last time he played, through 4 picks. The Jets defense actually kept this one really close in the first quarter and early in the second quarter. But Josh Allen and his weapons, I think they just got their swagger back, and they got it done. The Jets got some garbage time points, but man, this one was a blowout. The score ended up being 45-17. It felt like 58-0.
Yeah. And Nate S brings up something funny. He says, "Can we relegate the Jets at this point and bring up Alabama?"
Bring up Alabama.
Excuse me. You mean
Georgia. Can we do Ohio State's offense with Georgia's defense? I think that,
Nate.
Unpopular opinion. I don't think that the best college team could beat the worst NFL team, but I think if you took Ohio State's offense and Georgia's defense and you had them play the Lions 10 times, I think that they would keep it close at least once. At least once the college team would keep it close. I don't know if they'd win.
I can't believe you said Alabama. What are you talking? Who's number 1 right now?
Georgia's good. It doesn't even matter. I don't want
your head's in the, we know what he's a Washington Capitals fan, so he's whatever. Whatever, Nate. Whatever, Nate.
How am I?
What does he say? If Georgia continues to play like this for more than just 1 year.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a good point.
We're always competitive.
Alabama's a dynasty.
Yeah, whatever.
But this year, this might be one of the best football teams I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes. Because that defense is good. This is at least the best.
But they keep getting people knocked out for getting in trouble and shit. Because that one guy's in jail now.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Idiot. But no, he's right. Alabama, obviously, they're just a factory. Next game we got the Colts hang on to beat the Jaguars because the Jaguars, you know what, Nate? You can literally suck a dick. Right? Come on.
Hey, hey, my team has 0. Mine has 0 overall ever, so it's all good. Oregon, we have none.
Yeah, none.
It's all good.
I think Georgia has 1 or 2.
1982.
Yeah. Whatever, Nate.
My mom was
whatever, dude. Whatever. Fuck you, Nate. So the Colts got out to a big lead, and then Jacksonville came back. I had to watch this game because this was one that was on near me, and it was interesting because I was like, this game's awful. Trevor Lawrence is so bad. And
great.
It was more because of the rushing that they got back into it, but still, they end up losing. Trevor Lawrence threw for 162, ran for 33. Agnew ran the ball 3 times for 79 yards and 1 touchdown. Robinson ran for 57 yards and a touchdown, also had 27 yards receiving. Arnold had 67 yards receiving. Marvin Jones had 35 yards receiving. On the defensive side, Hamilton had a sack, and there was no interceptions. On the Indianapolis side, Wentz threw for 180 yards. Jonathan Taylor had a great game with 116 yards and a rushing touchdown. I'm not going to lie. His first quarter, I thought he was going to break the rushing record. He almost had 100 yards in the first quarter.
Yeah.
So the rest of his game was just not very good.
Right.
So the you know, Jacksonville kind of, stood up there. On the receiving side, Pittman had 71 yards receiving. And then after that, it's just a bunch of, like Taylor had 6 catches for 10 yards, not much else there. On the defensive side, Stallworth and Paye had sacks, and there was no interceptions. So, an interesting game, you know, for the, for to watch from one half to another, but
Yeah.
still Jacksonville 2-7.
Yeah, I mean the Colts defense definitely made it hard for Trevor Lawrence in the first half. He didn't look good really throughout the entire game, even whenever they were making the comeback. Indianapolis easily could have put this game away, but I say this every single week about the Colts. They do not finish drives in touchdowns. They need to do that. Pittman was really big in big moments for the Colts this game, and the defense was clutch. Good win for the Colts. Any win for Indianapolis is a good win for them, especially right now. Tough for the Jaguars, but it is what it is for the Jaguars. But it is a good win for the Colts. So.
Breaking news: Le'Veon Bell has been released by the Ravens because he sucks.
Who knows where he'll go next? Hey, Aaron Jones is out, so maybe we'll test the waters there.
Maybe, but it's, it just shows how much he just fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah,
because I don't know. It just makes me laugh because you know what, this guy had everything, and he decided to pull what he did, and now he could have been one of the great running backs in this league. And then it was just he's a nobody now, and it's just crazy, crazy. All right, so the next games we got is the afternoon games. So let's talk about our games. First and foremost, the Packers beat the Seattle Seahawks at home 17-0 in one of the most boringest games I've ever watched. Listen, the Packers didn't need to do anything to win this game because their defense did everything to win this game.
Yeah.
But, I wanted to mention that you won the game, but at what cost? Merciless got hurt. Jones got hurt. Gary got hurt.
Yep.
It was a tough game for the Packers.
That has been the story of this season.
It's every season with the Packers, dude.
Every single time I turn on the TV, I ask myself, who's it going to be today? And how extensive is the injury going to be? You know what I mean? I wake up every day as a Packers fan going, I wonder what's going to happen today, with the drama that we had in the off season with our quarterback that is apparently continuing. It's just, you never know. Packerland is definitely weird right now, but we're staying together. We're staying unified, and we're all, but yeah.
I mean, you can't, it just shows how good and how awesome, the Packers really are, because they can win in a shootout. They can win in a defensive struggle, but they're always going to pull away. But the one thing that I think that people need to realize is that, the Packers are who the Packers are. And every year it seems like the Packers keep defying the odds in different ways. But is this the year they finally get over the hump and get into that Super Bowl?
I try not to pray too much for sports, but I've been praying. I've been praying so bad.
I mean, because you think about it, and this is crazy to think, Rodgers is possibly gone. And if Rodgers doesn't come back, Devontae Adams is going to be a free agent. And surprise, surprise, Henry Ruggs did what he did, and now the Raiders need a number one receiver.
Right.
And before the Ruggs thing happened, I was saying no, because we have Ruggs. Ruggs is fine. He's showing that he's good. Now there's even more of a potential for Derek Carr and Devontae Adams to, you know what I'm saying? Because the option is there now, and it's just, to me, it's a bad circumstance of events, but this has got to be it for them, meaning all or nothing,
Yeah,
because there's a
100%.
possibility that you're going to have it this year where it's going to be Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, a little bit of A.J. Dillon, to next year being
Jordan Love, Aaron
Jordan
Jones,
Love
yeah,
with A.J. Dillon, Lazard, Mo Scantlin, and then you got the other Rodgers there. So, I think your best chance of making the Super Bowls now, and I think that's why they went after. I think that's why they went for OBJ as well, as hard as they did,
yeah.
because they know that this is it, and it just
You made me cry.
it's a tough thing to do because you know that the Packers are not going to pay Devontae Adams max contract,
Right.
And that's what he's going to want. I don't know if the Raiders could afford that.
Right.
I'm just saying that it's weird that this is what's happened to now. That's open.
Well, about the game, it was a strange game for both offenses. Rodgers and Russ, they both struggled in this game. Rodgers coming back from COVID, Russ coming back from the broken hand. The big X factor in this game was A.J. Dillon. He was huge in the fourth quarter. I guess the big X factor on offense was A.J. Dillon. Obviously, our defense was great. I think that the Seahawks are in trouble. Their season might be over. I don't see them in the playoffs. In the Green Bay Packers, like you said, all or nothing. We are really good. We're a great football team. It's all or nothing now.
It just reminds me a lot of 2010 when they would have an injury, someone would step up and play just as well. It was like it's just I'm hoping for them because I want to see them win because I have a lot of people like you and my friends and stuff like that, and I just I would love to have Devontae Adams on the Raiders, but I just think that it's tough to let a dynasty like that go away. But who knows? Who knows? Listen, let's talk about the Raiders. I really don't have much to say. The Raiders are 0 for 10 against the Chiefs. I know they beat them last year in Kansas City, but with all the distractions that the Raiders have had, they rebounded from the John Gruden thing and won 2 games. But John Gruden didn't kill somebody. John Gruden didn't, and John Gruden's a coach. This guy was a player. This is a teammate. This is a guy that you share stuff with. And all of a sudden he's gone. And forever. He's not a Raider anymore.
Right.
And the Giants game, obviously we needed that deep threat because they couldn't get the ball to go down there. Signed Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson, as much as he made a bonehead move on that catch, he still was able to spread the field a little bit because Brian Adams was able to. But with the injuries on defense and everything, the Chiefs, I knew the Chiefs were going to be able to catch their stride against the Raiders because it's just for some reason the Raiders always give that scare. They're always that, like, if a team's doing bad, they play the Raiders and they kill it because the Raiders are very predictable on defense. The Raiders will make mistakes. They'll get stupid penalties. And you know what? Derek Carr is playing great statistically, but is he playing great? It's up in the air right now. And people are freaking out, but ladies and gentlemen, the Raiders are still winning. They have a winning record right now. They're 5-4.
Yeah, the Raiders are doing good.
Yeah, they're 5-4, but it's tough when you're losing games and because we won so many in a row and then lose 2 in a row. Then we win 2 in a row and then we lost 2 in a row. And we're playing the Bengals next week. And the Bengals are young. They've got a great receiver, but people need to realize that Casey Hayward is, what is he saying? It had nothing to do with the deep threat. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. The problem is that you've got a situation where a team has had so many issues going forward, and it just I don't know. I don't know what the defense is what it is. Um, I don't know what the answer is at quarterback for the Raiders. If it's not Derek Carr, I don't know who it could be. If it's maybe Mariota, but he'll last a game.
Yeah.
Nathan Peterman is not going to make it for the Raiders. I mean, it's just I don't know who else they could get, and the Raider fan base is upset with Derek Carr, and I understand that, but I've never seen a player be as passionate as he is about being a Raider.
Right.
No one wants to be a Raider. Nobody nowadays.
Yeah.
And he does, and people still reject him. And I'm starting to reject him as well because I just don't know what to think about it. Like,
Yeah.
for some reason, he doesn't throw it to Darren Waller anymore.
Yeah.
And it could be, well, he's covered, but who gives a shit? Like,
Yeah.
just throw it up,
But well, as
And
far as the game goes, or you keep going. Sorry.
no. I'm just saying that, with Jackson doing what he does now, maybe a game under it. Who knows? They can still save the season. I just think that fans are just getting too upset with a team that
Yeah.
has had a lot of shit go on, man.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And as far as the game goes, I mean, this was a great game actually through the first three quarters. Then the Chiefs' offense just kind of started rolling late in that third quarter. Here's the thing with with the Chiefs. The Chiefs, I think that they're back on track. I think that they're going to start rolling, maybe getting some dubs, this and that. The Raiders, man, it's just they've been through way too much. I could not imagine having to play a football game after finding out that my coach is one of the worst people to ever exist. That's an exaggeration, but like if I was to
no, of course, yeah.
If I was to wake up one morning and be like, wow, my coach has offended half of my teammates, one of my teammates, and you know what I mean? Like that would make me feel weird. I don't know if I'd be able to play a football game like that. And then not even like 3 weeks later, one of my teammates make a mistake and have his entire life ruined. And he's, I don't really want to dive into that too much, but something like that happens, a brother, a teammate, because, whenever you share a locker with someone, that is your brother. You know what I mean? Even if you're only there with a guy for a season, I played with this one guy, JV. We only played one season of football together. That is my brother for life. They had one of those guys never is going to play football ever again. And they had to wake up, go to practice, and play a game on Sunday. And then the next week on Monday, after going through all of that, I don't blame the Raiders. And I don't blame Derek Carr really either. Because at the end of the day, who is getting asked these questions? How do you feel about John Gruden? How do you feel about Henry Ruggs? How do you feel about Damon Arnett waving guns in the air? Like, who is being asked these questions before anyone else? It's QB1. It's the captain. It's Derek Carr. So I 100%, I'm not giving him an excuse for not playing great, but I do feel bad for the guy, and I don't want to give him too much scrutiny for being a little rough right now.
Listen, as much as I love the Raider Nation, I don't know. I just think that the team would be in big trouble if he wasn't there.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I think we'd be in the Marcus Tiapasopo, Rick Meyer, Jeff George, the carousel of quarterbacks that we had. It's just – but also, and then we'll move on after this, the organization, the fan base are frustrated. It's been so long.
Yeah.
They just want a winner, and
just win. I mean, that's literally y'all's motto is literally just win, baby. Just
but
win.
The thing is that unfortunately, if they go under 500, I think it's a rebuild again. But I still think that number 4 is going to be there. But it's the Raider fan base is tough, dude. It's like that's why I've stopped doing videos, because it's just like I don't know what to say anymore. It's just it's a tough thing to do, And it's like I said, it's a lot of people that never played football before, and they don't understand what it's like to, have lose something like that because
Yeah,
it's just, But nonetheless,
imagine.
it is what it is, and hopefully they can rebound from it, and have a good rest of the season. But yeah, I mean, to have three weird things happen in a row like that is just,
Yeah,
it isn't worth it anymore. Not that it's not worth it anymore, but you know, it's just tough year. But then again, they're 5-4. Well, what else do you want them to do? They're
yeah,
still a winning record,
yeah. I mean, they're floating.
Yeah,
They're treading water.
yeah. Next game, we got the Chargers lose at home against the Vikings. So an interesting game here. Um, Kirk Cousins ends up having a good game. Justin Herbert had a good game too. Honestly, it was just one of those games. But on the Chargers side, Herbert threw for 195, one touchdown, one interception. Eckler ran for 44, caught for 15 and a touchdown. Keenan Allen did what he did, 98 yards receiving. On the defensive side, Bosa had a sack. Agbong Bima, I love that name. Agbong Bima had a sack as well, and there was no interceptions on the Viking side. Dalvin Cook had 94 yards and a touchdown. Kirk Cousins threw for 294 and two touchdowns. Justin Jefferson 143, Adam Thielen 65, and Conklin had both touchdowns receiving. Kendricks and Bynum had sacks, and Kendricks also had the interception. So, yeah, a little bit of an interesting score, a little bit of an interesting outcome here, but the Vikings finally pull off a W when they should have.
Yeah, this game was I mean, it was weird because it was kind of a good game, but it also kind of felt like the Vikings were blowing them out at some time. Keenan Allen was huge for LA, and Jefferson was huge for Minnesota. Justin Herbert hasn't been playing like the MVP lately, but he wasn't really bad in this game. I thought he had a pretty good game. Here's the big thing. The Chargers are a team that I think a lot of people look at as contenders. A lot of people look at them and say, this team should be contending. And I'm one of those people. But if we're going to put them in that conversation, they have to win because they have the same record as the Raiders, but people aren't looking at them the same as the Raiders. This was a very important win for Minnesota. It's going to keep them in the playoff conversation. A very important win for the Vikings, and this needs to be a wake-up call for the Chargers. If this doesn't wake the Chargers up to start winning football games, they will not make the playoffs. And they are a team that should be in the playoffs. But they need to win ball games, and that they're not winning ball games like they should be right now. They're 5-4.
I'll say this too, is that for some reason the Mike Williams and Justin Herbert show is not there anymore.
I mean, it was decent at the beginning of the season. Now it's
great in the beginning of the season. They had like 6 touchdowns in the first 3 weeks. Now they've done nothing, and I don't know what the hell happened. I think that's the biggest thing is that Mike Williams is not producing anymore for the team, but Herbert's also not throwing his way.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on there, but we'll see. Like I said, just once again, I mean, the Chargers left it wide open for the Raiders and the Chiefs to take that sole possession of the division.
That's going to be a fun divisional race throughout.
Yeah, it should be. I think it really should be. Next game, we got another surprising game, but Kyler Murray as well as Hopkins were out of this game. But the Panthers traveled to Arizona, beat them 34-10. Arizona, Colt McCoy had a rough game. He threw the ball for 107 yards and an interception. James Conner had 39 yards, but yet another rushing touchdown, which I think is his 11th this year. On the receiving side, Kirk had 58 yards. Ertz had 46. On the defensive side, let's see here. They didn't have any sacks, and Thompson had the interception. For Carolina, there's a lot of stats to go over here. P.J. Jones threw for 167 and an interception. Cam Newton threw for a touchdown, also ran for a touchdown. McCaffrey had 160 yards total of offense. Anderson had a receiving touchdown. On the defensive side, Thompson had a sack. Reddick had a sack and a half. Haynes had a sack. And Jackson had the interception. So, very surprising outcome there.
Yeah.
But, Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins are not playing. That's a big, big thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, before we get into Arizona, isn't it nice to see Cam Newton out there playing for his own team?
Yeah.
And he did pretty good with the limited sample size. He only threw the ball 8 times, only ran the ball, I think, 4 times in this game. The Panthers defense, we said it at the beginning of the year. I thought this defense was really good at the beginning of the year, and then they kind of stopped playing good. Well, they looked really good in this game. Maybe the Cardinals do need Kyler Murray. Last week, I know we didn't end up going live, but I did notes anyway, just in case I wasn't feeling good enough to. And I said, hey, maybe the Cardinals don't need Kyler Murray. I think it's pretty clear that they do need Kyler Murray. But still, I think that this is the Arizona fluke game. Like I said, the Cowboys had theirs last week. The Packers had theirs in week 1. Maybe the Raiders had theirs last week or last night too. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't worry too much if I'm a Cardinals fan. I think this is their fluke game. Everyone has them. All the contenders have at least.
Yeah, it's one of those games where you're just like, well, I mean, but then again, you could be at the end of the season and be like, we lost by 1 game.
Right.
And that's the game you lost to. It's you play with the team that's given to you, but when you have 2 great players like that out, that it's tough to win.
Yeah, and those are their playmakers. It's not like, oh, we're missing 2 good guys. No, you're missing probably the best players on your entire team.
Yeah. Next, we've got Philly goes into Denver and ends up beating Philly 30-13, or ends up beating Denver 30-13. On the Denver side, Teddy Bridgewater threw for 226. Williams had 48 yards rushing. Melvin Gordon had 45 with a touchdown. Fan had 59 yards receiving. Akwai Bunam had 77 yards receiving. On the defensive side, Jones had a sack. Simmons had an interception. For the Eagles, Hurts had 178 yards, 2 touchdowns, also an interception. He ran the ball for 53 yards as well. Howard and Scott both had over 80 yards rushing. And Devontae Smith had 66 yards and 2 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns. On the defensive side, Barnett had a sack, and there was no interceptions. So not a game many people were watching. I mean, you had a 3-6 team and a 5-4 team, but still, as of right now, the AFC West has all people over 500.
Yeah.
And the Eagles get a win that most people thought they were going to lose.
Yeah, I mean, and let's be honest, the Broncos weren't ready to play this game. I mean, even whenever it was close, they didn't look ready to play in this game. And after that fumble recovery that Slay had, did you see Teddy Bridgewater's piss poor effort on that? It's not even like he stood there. He kind of like went at him. He kind of like threw a little shoulder at him or whatever.
Yeah.
That was really ugly. But Denver seemed like they just kind of gave up. Devontae Smith, he looked really good. I think that his connection with Jalen Hurts is what's keeping Jalen Hurts a starter and is what's going to keep Jalen Hurts a starter. If they didn't have that great connection, I don't think Jalen Hurts would be playing as good right now, and he wouldn't even be a starter. Philadelphia is one of those teams right now that I'm not sleeping on. I think this team, with how wide open that 7th seed is going to be in the NFC, I think if Philly can get on a roll, they can see themselves in the playoffs. I don't think that it will happen, but I would not be surprised if it did.
Yeah, no, it's funny because you don't know what to expect from either of these teams.
Agreed. Yeah, it's like they can come out and play really good. I mean, the Eagles looked good last week against the Chargers.
They did, and that's the thing is that
good.
the Eagles have been competitive in these games, and overall, these 2 teams are going to be teams that pull those upsets going forward. I don't see Denver fighting for the division at the end of the year, but who knows? You don't know
that 7th wild card spot, but I don't think the division.
No, but maybe. but overall, Eagles can play spoiler as well as Denver, at the end of the season. But, once again, though, like, I hate to say it, but like Teddy Bridgewater is not helping himself going forward. Like, he's got to play better. He's got to so he can keep his job for once somewhere.
Yeah, and he plays good in games. Like he was really good against Dallas, but he was terrible this game. So
yeah, it's just weird.
They can't decide if they're good or not.
Yeah, yeah. First and foremost, with the Monday Night Football game, me not just paying attention because that's who I am. I can't believe that the 49ers are 3-5. But that's just me. But they went at home against the Rams, 31-10. Good game by them, bad game by the Rams, especially Matt Stafford. But Jimmy G throws for 162 and 2 touchdowns. Mitchell had 91 yards rushing. Deebo Samuel, one of my favorites right now, had 36 yards rushing and a rushing touchdown, and 97 yards and a receiving touchdown, which was pretty cool to see. George Kittle, welcome back to the NFL, Mr. Kittle, had 50 yards and a receiving touchdown as well. And, oh my God, Arden Key actually got a sack. Fucking Arden Key. Arden Key and Nick Bosa both had sacks, and Jimmy Ward had 2 interceptions, including a touchdown. And for the Rams, Matt Stafford had 243, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Sony Michel and Henderson did nothing. Cooper Kupp did what he always does. 115 catches for 3,000 yards. No, I'm kidding. 11 catches for 122 yards. Higbee had a receiving touchdown, and Beckham in his debut as a Ram had 2 catches for 18 yards. We'll be waiting for his father's YouTube video as soon as it comes out. Rapp had a sack, and there was no interception. So big surprise here. Big surprise here.
Yeah, it was a really rough second loss in a row for LA. The 49ers just might salvage their season. I don't see it happening, but they did look really, really good in this game. The thing with the Rams is with the addition of these superstars like Von Miller, I know that he's not in his prime anymore, and Odell Beckham, and I know he hasn't looked good recently. This may prove to just be a little bit too much pressure. And it happens. I mean, we saw it whenever the Lakers had Kobe and they had Gasol and they had Dwight Howard and they had Nash. And I know it's basketball and it's a little bit different, but having a bunch of superstars just might be a little bit too much pressure for the Rams. I'd love to say that this is a fluke game, but guess what? They got beat bad last week too. So I just don't know. I don't want to overreact too much because, hey, it was their first game with Odell Beckham, their first game without Robert Woods, their first game with Von Miller. Maybe they just needed that loss to get used to each other. Now they're like, hey, we have a full week of practice. Odell's going to be practicing this whole week. Von Miller's going to be practicing this whole week. We know that we don't have Robert Woods. Maybe they'll get things clicking. I don't want to overreact too much, but man, that was an ugly loss and a very bad first impression for the new look Rams.
Not a good way to go into a bye week, but
definitely not. Oh, they don't play this upcoming week? Yeah, not a great way to go.
They go and play Green Bay at the end of the month.
Oh, hell. They're not going to get no wins within 4 weeks. 2 losses, a bye, and then a loss again.
I'm going to say their month of November is going to be loss, bye week, and probably loss. So, yeah.
In Green Bay?
In Green Bay.
Oh, just chalk it up. It's a dub. Come on, chalk it up.
I wish I was as confident as you are with my team.
I'm so confident. I've picked us to win the last 3 weeks. I picked us to win without Devontae. I picked us to win whenever we went to Arizona when they were undefeated. I picked us to win without Devontae Adams, Adam Lazard, and MVS. I picked us to win against the Chiefs without Aaron Rodgers, and we didn't, but we could have. And then I picked us to win this week too. I mean, this one wasn't as. I've got so much confidence. So much confidence.
Good for you, bro. Good for you. I like that. But that is our show. Another great week. Some surprises. Some teams got back on the snide, and some games just weren't worth really talking about. But other than that, It was another good week of NFL football. We will be back next week, better and better and bigger and whatever than ever. But before we head out, we just want to say first off, thank you guys for watching. Do us a favor while you're watching. Remember to subscribe to both Bigger and Brighter Sports as well as Mykel Sports. Also, Mike, let them know where they can find you on Instagram as well as Twitter.
Yeah, Instagram is at Mykel Sports _ YouTube. I don't really post a lot on Instagram. I'm trying to do a little bit more. Twitter is where you're always going to want to find me. It's at Mykel Sports. I interact with literally everybody on Twitter. I love Twitter, so make sure to give me at Mykel Sports on there. So
you can find me on Instagram at Bigger and Brighter Sports, and you can also find me on Twitter at Big Tuna BBS. Who do the Packers have this week?
The Vikings.
And the Raiders have the Bengals. So both games should be very interesting. We'll see what
I
happens.
think both games could go either way because, I mean, the Packers and Vikings, we're the better team, but it is a divisional game, so you never know.
You never know. You never know. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you for checking us out. We'll be here next week and probably about the same time, maybe a little bit earlier. But regardless, we will be here. Have a good rest of your week. Go Packers, go Raiders, go Dogs. And
Happy birthday, Big Kev. Love you, little bro.
There you go. And for the little guy that's taller than most of us, happy birthday there, buddy. But, we'll see you guys next week. Take it easy. Nate and Carla are getting a little love connection on there.